Hey guys, it's Jen. Today I am really excited to share with you guys my jelly printing adventures over the past week or so. And there are no stores by me that sell the Jelly Arts jelly plate. I would have to order it online. So I figured first I would try and make my own, and if that didn't work, I would buy one online. But it did work. My second go round worked, so that's what I want to share with you guys. I'm going to quickly go through the process that I used to make it, and then I have some video demonstrating me using it, and I'll show you a card a little later on. So let me start off by saying that I will list below the recipe that I used. And the first time I used alcohol in my recipe, and the jelly plate came out very smelly. It continued to smell like heavily of alcohol, which I'm really sensitive to smells, and I couldn't tolerate that. But on top of that, the jelly plate was very weak and cracked very easily. So I went with the recipe that does not use any alcohol the second time. And this recipe I made a 9x9 jelly plate with. So I used 7 packages of Knox gelatin. I used 2 of the small bottles of glycerin you can get these at CVS or Walmart. They are pricier at CVS. They also have it at Target if you ask for it at the pharmacy. But Walmart was definitely the cheapest. It was $3 and change for a bottle of it versus CVS was like almost $8. And these are 6-ounce bottles. So I used 12 total ounces, which is a cup and a half. And then you also need a cup and a half of boiling water. So the first thing that you do is you put your glycerin in a bowl, and then you add to that all of your gelatin. And you want to make sure that you do somewhat dissolve the gelatin into the glycerin before you add the hot water. It helps everything dissolve and kind of mesh a little bit better. And so here I am just kind of stirring the gelatin into the glycerin. It will not like completely dissolve by any means, but you do just want to get it all mixed in before you add your hot water. And then so here I have my boiling hot water, and I add that in, and you're going to just keep stirring and stirring until you really see that the gelatin has dissolved. What I did once I mixed the gelatin in is I microwaved it for 2 minutes and then gave it another good stir, and then I did several segments of microwaving at 30 seconds. I want to say it was like about 4 times, and just really stirred it each time in between. And then when I saw that, all of those individual particles were pretty dissolved. It's still kind of murky looking, but you could no longer see the individual little crystals. At that point, I got my pan out, which I just purchased a 9x9 pan at the dollar store. I really could have just used one that I had at home because these ingredients aren't toxic. However, I did buy one. I also I've seen some people do them with the plastic box frames from Michael's. I did buy one of those for a couple dollars, and it did not lay flat at all on the counter, and the pan did lay flat, so I decided to go with the pan because I wanted my jelly plate to be flat. And to mine, I also added a little bit of food coloring just to make it fun, so I added some, here is just the blue, but I ended up adding for mine, I think like 5 drops of blue and 1 drop of yellow, and I ended up with this blue-green color. Now, when I made my first jelly plate with the alcohol, I did not have all this foam on top. But as the jelly plate cooled, I just kept skimming off a little bit of the foam and bubbles, And as it cooled, the bubbles went more and more away until it was finally really pretty clear. And at that point, I just put a rack on top of it just to prevent my pets from getting into it, and I kind of had it up on a high counter, and I just let it sit overnight. It does take several hours to cure. The video, and I am going to start taking the jelly plate out of the pan. With the alcohol one, I was able to just pull it away from the sides. This one I wasn't. I did have to get an X-Acto knife, and I very carefully went around all of the edges. This is sped up, so I took more time than this. And then I went ahead with my finger and just kind of pulled it away from the sides a little bit at a time, and I did do that all the way around. I could tell already that this plate was much firmer than the first one I made, and then it popped right out. I was so excited. So there it is. And the rest, you guys, stop. Sorry, we're having a thunderstorm, and the dogs are a little excited. So I'm pressing on it there. It was very firm, and I have some sped up video here of me using the jelly plate, and then I'll slow down when I pull the papers off to show you the results. I have a speedball brayer that I really like, and I just used acrylic paints that I had. Here we go, slow motion reveal. So there was my first layer for that, and I set that aside to dry, and I will come back to that one later. I did find that I didn't have a lot of working time, that the paint was drying very quickly on the jelly plate. And you can see right there, it even lifted some off because it's drying so quickly. I did go purchase some medium that will help slow the drying time. I haven't used it yet, but I will share that with you guys when I do. So this was just my first attempt at using the jelly plate, but I was so excited. Here I am using some doilies, and these doilies actually have like a little bit of a plastic coating on them, so they worked really well. They weren't just paper. And I am using regular cardstock here. Later on I'm using a little bit of Bristol paper. I do like the heavier weight papers, that's just personal preference. I like how this one came out. And the jelly plate is very, very easy to clean off. I just use a baby wipe. And I'm going to go ahead and add some more paint here and then pick up another print. I love like working with color, and life has been very busy and stressful here lately, and I haven't been able to do a ton of crafting. However, while I was doing all of this, I did not think of anything else except for what I was doing, and that's exactly what I needed. I don't know if I'm going to use every single one of these papers, but I wouldn't trade the time I spent doing this for anything because it was like crazy relaxing for me. So now I'm going to come in, and this is some metallic paint which comes up very translucent, and I'm going to use this elephant stencil. A lot of these are folk art stencils, and so I put that on this piece of paper that had already dried, that I had done earlier, and I'm just picking up, I had just picked up some of the extra paint, and I'm going to show you in just a second a card that I made with this piece of paper. I'm actually going to be making Mia's thank you cards for her graduation. There it is. So I love this elephant, and I love how this came out, and just really, really enjoying using the jelly plate. I'm doing just a little bit more here. And so I have the jelly plate. I'm storing it in the refrigerator. I really don't think that I need to, but I figured I would just for longevity's sake. And I hung a string in my craft room, and these do take quite a while to dry, and here I'm just cleaning up with the baby wipe. It just cleans up super easily. But I hung a string so that I could hang up all the papers to dry. So, you know, one of the things I learned right away is that, you know, you can do a whole bunch, but they really need to dry before you, you know, print on them again. I found that it would just pull the paper off, or, you know, pull the previous color off. It just worked a lot better if it was dry first. I love this stencil too. I don't know if this is a folk art one. I think this is a stencil that I got on super clearance at Joann's. It was a fabric stencil, actually. So the stencils I have are from all over the place. I did pick up some of the folk art ones recently. And I want to do some other techniques that aren't necessarily using stencils, but so here again, I took one of the pieces that had dried and then used that stencil to add an additional layer. And then it left quite a bit of paint on the plate, so I'm just very carefully kind of adding some paint on top of that, trying not to mix it in so much as just to cover what's underneath there. And then this one pulls off really, really nice. I think I might be using the Bristol paper here. And you get that image from underneath there. So that's all I have to share right now, you guys. I hope this was helpful, and if anyone has any questions or comments, please leave them below. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this, and I will be coming back with a second video just demonstrating some jelly plating and eventually the set of cards that I'm making. Have a great day. Bye-bye.